Thanks very much. So I am Steve. I'm with Canadian Assistive Technologies. I'm the owner of the company. We've been doing this since 2017, but I go back a little further than that. I've been in the assistive technology industry since 1990, or as I like to say, the last decade of the last century. Um, the company that I worked for before was called Aroga Technologies. It was one of the bigger companies in Canada doing assistive technology. And it got taken down by an embezzler who embezzled a bunch of money from the company and then ran off to Australia. So in 2017, suddenly finding myself out of work, I started my own company and have been continuing on doing the same thing. So this is a look at my current team. We've got myself there. We've got Ryan Fleury. He does all of our technical support for blindness products. He's a blind computer user himself. And he used to be my number one technical support problem. So I eventually gave him the job of handling technical support himself. Greg McKinnon, he runs our Vancouver office. We've got an office at 8th and Willow, and it's actually the largest showroom for low vision and blindness products in Western Canada. We focus on the low vision and blindness stuff there primarily because we're 2 blocks below the big eye care clinic on Willow Street by VGH. We got Rob in marketing. Rick, he's our service partner. He actually runs his own company. It's called Chaos Technical Services, and he does repairs to assistive technology. If you ever need something repaired, Rick's a great guy. He keeps stuff running long after the manufacturers have stopped supporting them. And then most recently, we've added Rianne. She's a Braille transcriptionist who's doing some work for us out in Saskatchewan. We have a lot of assistive technology products at the company. We have about 4,600 different SKUs. This is a chart that we put together trying to figure out how we were going to organize all of them on our website because we're going through a redevelopment of our website right now. But for different categories, we have optical magnifiers, we have furniture, we have low vision aids, we have canes, we have some products for the deaf and hard of hearing. We've got a number of blindness products, all kinds of things for physical disabilities, a few communication aids for the nonverbal, a bunch of products for elder care, some therapy tools for therapists, various education products. And we also operate a gently used section on our website. So if people are trying to sell something that they're not using anymore, we'll list it for them. If somebody's interested, we just connect the 2 people together and they can work out a deal themselves. But it's a nice service, and it's a place where you can find some of this stuff a little less expensive than buying it new. So I'm going to go through some of the different categories here. First up, because this is what we're best known for, is the low vision and blindness products. There's about 1.5 million people in Canada currently who have vision loss, and about 5.5 million that have some kind of eye disease that could lead to vision loss. And in that, we've got a whole lot of different types of products to address the needs of that population. Starting off with magnification products. We get a lot of referrals from that eye care clinic up the street. And in a lot of cases, those people are coming in for the first time to look at some kind of vision aid. So typically we're starting with optical magnifiers, and those could be just a simple handheld magnifier. A lot of times they have a light attached to it. But the big problem with optical magnification is as you get up to higher magnification levels, optical magnifiers get smaller and smaller. So if you're looking at a 10 times optical magnifier, you've probably only got a lens that's about 1.5 inches across at most. So you're not seeing a lot through it at any given time. So that's where video magnification comes into play. With video magnifiers, even small handheld ones, you can get 22 times magnification, but you're getting it on a larger screen. So you've got a bigger picture into the world. And those portable magnifiers, they start at about 4.3-inch screens. They go up to 5, 7, 10, 12 times in portable units or luggable units. They're very popular for taking around, going to the grocery store with, so you can look at price lists and those sorts of things. And then the other pictures up there are of a couple of the different configurations of camera systems for video magnification. So on the far right, that's just a portable camera that can plug into an iPad, and you can tilt the camera. You can do distance viewing with it. You can do close-up viewing with it. You can do self-viewing with it if you want to use it as a magnifying mirror. But it's a very, very portable little system that just gets powered by the iPad. What we're starting to see in this industry with these low vision aids is we're starting to also see AI creep into them. So that little portable camera has an AI option, and you could put a document underneath it, and rather than sit there and read through it, you could have it read to you, but you can also ask it questions. You can say, what's the total of this bill? And it'll find the total for you, and it'll tell you what the total is. You could do things like put a menu underneath it and say, I'm allergic to tomatoes. What can I eat on this menu? And it would analyze that menu and give you that information. AI is working its way into virtually every aspect of my business right now, and it is incredibly helpful for a lot of tasks. The two on the bottom are the more traditional styles of CCTVs. So typically, the original style for them was you would have a moving table on the bottom. You'd drop your document onto that moving table, and it would be magnified up onto a screen that was positioned very far forward so that you can get very close to it. I see a lot of screens, magnification systems, and computers that have nose prints on them because people are getting that close to them. The other style that they have is where the camera is over top of the monitor. The monitor sits further back. The advantage to that style is that you can do arts and crafts and those sorts of things with them. It's got a much larger working distance. So I've had people use those for things like painting, so that they could continue on with their hobbies. Then we have computer magnification and speech output. The assumption for large print systems for computers is that you can see the mouse. If you can't see the mouse, you need a screen reader. But as long as you can see a mouse to operate the computer, these do significant levels of magnification. They'll actually do up to about 30 times magnification on the computer. But you're looking at such a small part of the computer screen when you're up at those magnification levels that I usually recommend that if you're getting up to about 6 to 8 times magnification, you're probably going to be way more efficient using a screen reader than using large print on a computer. But these large print systems have all kinds of stuff built into them. They've got obviously the ability to change the size of your print. They've got different viewing modes and different options for using multiple monitors. So you could have, for example, 2 monitors side by side and have it act as one big desktop for you. Or you could take one of those monitors and have it showing a magnified view while the other monitor was showing an unmagnified view of the whole computer screen. You can change the colors around. Lots of people benefit from high contrast. So you could switch everything to black and white if you wanted to, or if you had a particular color that you couldn't see. A lot of people are unable to see the color red when they have different eye conditions. You can map red into a different color that you can see. They have pointer options. You can have these massive pointers on the screen for your mouse. They also have things like crosshairs and buttons that you can press to have it show you exactly where your mouse is on this screen. They have enhancements for cursors so that when you've got that little blinking eye bar in your Word document and 5 L's in a row and you can't see where your cursor is, it'll put a big triangle there to show you where your cursor is. They have highlighting for menus. That's the focus feature at the top there. It'll put a big box around your menu item that's active. And then you can't see it, but in the background, they have speech tools available for these. So you can get these programs either with or without speech, but the speech for this is really driven by the mouse. So you can do things like turn on speech. They have a feature called hover echo, where if you move your mouse over top of some text, it's just going to read that text to you. And you can set a delay so it doesn't read everything, so it's not blathering constantly as you're moving your mouse around, but it will read pretty much anything off the computer screen for you. Talking books have changed a lot in the last 30 some odd years that I've been doing this. When I first came into the industry, they were doing a lot of multi-track cassettes. That, of course, changed to CDs, and now you can't buy CD drives anymore. So the manufacturers now have gone to purely digital formats. There's two big accessible libraries in Canada. One is called CELA. The other one is called NELS. And the CELA library has a digital delivery system built into it. So you can buy one of these players, or you can get an app on an iPad or an Android device, or pretty much any device, I guess. And the CELA library, you have an account, you have your device connected to Wi-Fi, you order a book on your account, it gets delivered directly to the player. You don't have to go through, downloading it on a computer and then loading it onto something else. It'll just go straight into your player. And that gets used a lot. That's for anybody who has any kind of reading disability. If you just go onto the CELA website, it's a self-declaration, and it gets you access to thousands and thousands of titles. So then we have screen readers. These are what blind people would use for operating the computer. The assumption with the screen reader is that you're not able to use a mouse anymore, and you have to do everything through keystrokes. Now, there are plug-in programs that will work alongside a screen reader that will also allow voice control. So if somebody had a physical disability where they weren't able to access a keyboard, you could have a pure voice in, voice out system working. They're very complicated. It's a huge learning curve to do that, but they do exist. So the two biggest ones that you're typically going to run into in British Columbia are going to be JAWS and NVDA. JAWS is a professional level screen reader. NVDA is a freeware screen reader, but it's a very good one. So if somebody needs something and wants it on cheap, NVDA is definitely the way to go. Sorry, I should say for Windows. There's also VoiceOver, which is built into every Mac, every iPad. There's TalkBack, which is built into every Android device. And then the bottom one here, Supernova, that is a British-made screen reader. And for some reason, the federal government has wholeheartedly adopted it. So if you know anybody who is looking to work for the federal government and needs a screen reader, that's what they're going to end up with, is Supernova, because it tends to work better with some of the things that the federal government is using it for. And then there's hybrid products, which are sort of halfers between screen reader and the large print program. So Fusion is a combination of JAWS and Zoom text. And the idea is that if you have somebody who has a deteriorating eye condition and, it's slowly fading out on them, they can learn to use a screen reader while they still have visual supports. And then they can slowly transition over time into just pure screen reader use. Supernova also has a product like that as well. We do a lot of stuff with Braille, including Braille displays. So I've got one on my table if you ever want to look at one, but Braille displays typically start at about 20 characters of Braille, and they go up to 40, which is probably the most popular size. Then there's some out there that are 80 characters wide. The only reason they're 80 characters wide is because that's what the width of a DOS screen was back in the day when DOS was around. So it's stuck around since DOS. What we're starting to see now is we're starting to see multi-line Braille come into the market. Braille is typically incredibly expensive to produce. Each dot that's bouncing up and down on a Braille cell, and there's typically 8 of them in computer Braille. They're made up of a 3-layer wafer. And when you apply voltage to one side, it bends up, and when you apply voltage to the other side, it bends down. So that's what's driving it. Every single one of those dots has one of those underneath it. And the cost for Braille is roughly $90 to $100 per character that you're looking at. So it's not a cheap solution, but it is the only true path to literacy for people who are blind. We do a lot of stuff around Braille education. There is the ubiquitous Perkins Brailler up there that was designed in the 1950s, and it is still used today for Braille education. Pretty much every Braille transcriber that has ever lived has been forced to use one of those. There are better alternatives. There's newer, easier to use devices. I've got a picture of the Mountbatten Brailler up there. That's a whole different level of Brailler. It has built-in memory. It's got a wireless keyboard, very light touch. It can act as a Braille printer. It can act as a Braille word processor. You can plug a printer into it and output in regular print. You can transfer documents into it and print them out in formatted Braille. It's a pretty cool system. And then, of course, we also have a lot of just Braille printers that you put tractor-fed paper into, and you produce Braille on a printer. Optical character recognition was huge when it first came into the market back about the time that I was starting out in the assistive technology industry. Back then, it was a device about this size of this table, called the Kurzweil Personal Reader, and it could read a couple of fonts. But it didn't do a great job, but it was the start of something. And over the years, these devices have gotten smaller and smaller, and now everybody's got it built into their phone. Everybody is walking around with a device that is perfectly capable of doing optical character recognition. And now with AI, it can also do handwriting recognition as well. And of course, because it's AI, it can also tell you all kinds of other things about it, or summarize a document, or do stuff like that. One of the hottest things to hit the blindness community in the last while has been the Ray-Ban Meta glasses. You'll see a lot of blind people these days walking around with those on, because they can press a button and say, what's in the room? And it'll tell you, well, there's this many people sitting in there, there's that many chairs. And again, you can start asking questions about your surroundings. Like, so do you see a pair of keys? Yeah, yes, they're sitting over on the couch on the right. Incredibly useful technology, but it's coming from the mainstream. And it's completely disrupted the traditional market for those sorts of things. We do all the white canes that you see people walking around with. We repair them in our office. So if you know anybody with a broken white cane, send them our way. We've also got all the cane tips that you get on the ends of them, because those get worn down. Navigation for people who are blind. A lot of people are relying on Google Maps these days because it works, and you can get good speech output with it through the screen readers that are built into these devices these days. There are still some dedicated products. The one on the top left there is called a Stellar Trek. That's made by Humanware in Montreal. It's a dedicated GPS product, but it also has a camera on the back of it and built-in AI. And the main reason for the built-in AI is because GPS will get you close, but it won't tell you where the door is. So that's what the camera does on there. But of course, you can do that with mainstream devices too, and with just a cell phone. Physical access products. There's about 8 million people in Canada who have some kind of physical disability. It's the biggest group of people with disabilities. And it's one that many of us find ourselves in just time to time, from injury, getting older. We often say that disability is the one community that you can join at any time without planning it. So we've got a lot of stuff around physical access as well, starting with accessible furniture. It used to be that you could almost never see height adjusting desks. You saw them almost nowhere. Now they're everywhere. There's a lot of sit to stand workstations out there. We've got a lot of different types of furniture. All of it's customizable as well, but some of it is knob adjusted, where you just set it once and leave it. Some of it is crank adjusted, and some of it is motorized. But we also have things like a height adjustable cooktop or height adjustable cupboards, so that somebody in a wheelchair can bring a cupboard down to their level to get access to them. Keyboards, there's all kinds of alternative keyboards out there. I've got a couple on the table out in the showroom there. So we do a lot of large print keyboards, standard keyboard spacing, just with large print stenciled on them. And those typically come in either white on black, black on white, or black on yellow. And we've got all of them. Then you have keyboards that have key guards available. And the idea behind a key guard is if somebody can't do that hover over top of the keyboard, they can rest their hands on the keyboard and then just poke through the key guard to get at the keys. Then we also have a one-handed keyboard. That keyboard actually has keys on both sides of it, so it can be left-handed or right-handed. And it's got a mouse built into it as well, so you can operate your keyboard, your computer completely from a single hand. And then we have switch accessible keyboards. That's the bottom guy there. It doesn't look like a keyboard at all, but using that plugged into, oh, sorry, that one's not switch accessible. That one is infrared. That's so that somebody with a communication aid can use their communication aid as a keyboard on the computer. But we do have switch accessible ones as well. And we've got all kinds of mouse alternatives. A lot of people can't grab onto a standard mouse. Oftentimes trackballs are a better solution for them, because you can roll a trackball with pretty much any part of your body. I've seen people use trackballs on the ground with their feet. They're a pretty effective solution. We also have joysticks with different grasping options for them. And a lot of these adapted mice alternatives will have things like switch inputs, so you can position switches in different places. They don't have to be using the switches on the device itself. They also can have things like a dedicated double click button. So rather than having to go tick, tick, you can just press one button and it'll do a double click for you. There's trackpads as well. They're not as commonly used, but they are used. And then there's switch accessible alternatives. So the Hitch computer switch interface there on the bottom, that allows you to plug in a bunch of switches and control everything just from physical switches. More of switches. Switch interfaces, they're a big thing. If you go into the accessibility options of any iPad, and I think most Android devices now, you'll find switch accessibility is built into it. And there's different strategies that you can use with that switch accessibility. But typically, if you're doing it with a single switch, it's just going to be a scanning sort of interface where once it gets to what you want, you press the switch to activate what you want. If you get up into more switches, you can provide a easier level of control. So you can, assign things for up, down, left, right, click. But there's a whole variety of different switch interfaces for different devices, for different purposes. And there's switch interfaces for gaming. That's the Nintendo, what's the name of that guy? Nintendo something. I've lost the other word. But that has an input for every control that you would find on a Nintendo gaming console. So somebody can game entirely through switches. It also has joystick inputs as well, so you can plug joysticks onto it for control also. And then there's the switches themselves, and there's a massive variety of switches. This is some of the different types of switches that are available. So top left, that's a physical press a button switch. Next to it is a very low activation switch. It doesn't take much in the way of a press at all to activate it. Then we have pillow switches. We've got Bluetooth switches. We've got dual Bluetooth switches. Middle row there on the left, that's a proximity switch. You can program that one for how far you have to be from it to activate it. And that comes in both wired and Bluetooth forms. There's sip puff switches. There's wobble switches that you can thwack from any direction to activate. Grasp switches that you squeeze. Finger switches, very light touch, finger activated switches. Leaf switches you can mount on the end of something, and it's a very light touch to activate it. And the most recent one that we've brought in is an EEG switch. It actually monitors for brain activity, and if you activate it, usually by trying to do some sort of muscle movement, often with the face, it'll do a switch click for you. And those interface with communication aids as well for activating communication aids. Environmental control is another area that's really gone through a shift, because everybody and their dog has either a Google device or a Alexa device in their house these days, and there are all kinds of smart home products that activate with those. The downside to them is oftentimes the apps change. So you want to activate something and all of a sudden, no, you can't, because you've got to update the app first. Or a manufacturer decides, well, we've supported that for 5 years. We're not going to support that product anymore. And all of a sudden, the product that you were relying on no longer functions. So there's alternatives to those. A lot of products use infrared control to control various things. A lot of them are programmable. At the booth, I've got one called the Lotus Ring, which is just a little ring that you wear, and you can turn lights on and off just by pressing a button on the side of the ring. And then, there's scanning types of devices. So you would have a switch input in there. It would scan through the various devices that you might want to control. When you get to the device you want to activate, you press a button. So there's all kinds of ways of skinning that cat, but a lot of that has gone to the mainstream now. If somebody needed to control a computer and didn't have the ability to move their hands, you might consider head pointing. Head pointing systems just basically track the, there's a couple ways of doing it. So SensePilot is a piece of software. It uses the camera on your computer or any webcam, and it just tracks the movement of your head. You can set it to do clicks by doing things like blinking or smiling or what have you. But it's a surprisingly accurate system, given that it's just using the camera on a computer. The other way of doing it is a dedicated device like the head mouse on the right there. With the head mouse, you actually wear a little silver dot, and it tracks that dot. It's a little more accurate than the ones that are just using the basic computer camera, but you gotta put a dot on. A lot of people will put them on a hat or a headband or something rather than having to stick it directly to their forehead. Now, if you can't move your head, there are eye gaze systems, and eye gaze systems are being built into a lot of communication aids these days. But what they do is they emit infrared, and they bounce it off the back of your retina, and then they track that. They're quite fussy about positioning. If you set one up and then you move it even slightly, it's not going to be accurate anymore, and you're going to have to recalibrate it. So it's very important that these are mounted effectively for someone to use consistently. But they are very, very good too. And then a lot of these devices get used with on-screen keyboards. Of course, there's one built into virtually every operating system these days, but there are still specialized keyboard software out there that have a few more functions, things like mouse control or the ability to store phrases that you commonly use so that you can just do a couple of keystrokes and get a fair bit of written output. This is also where word prediction started, was with these on-screen keyboards. Now that word prediction is in every device that you get. Voice recognition, again, gone through a revolution. A lot of it has gone mainstream. The only voice recognition company that's making a third-party product now, I believe, is Dragon. I still sell a fair number of them because people use it still in a lot of professions. You can get specialized vocabularies for Dragon for a lot of specialized professions, which typically it's vocabulary that wouldn't be recognized out of the box by, the voice recognition that's built into iOS or Windows. So there's still a little niche for Dragon out there. They also have the ability to take stuff from voice recorders and transcribe things from voice recorders, which some people find quite handy. So, communication aids. There's close to 500,000 people in Canada that have communication disabilities that can come from all sorts of different areas. We frequently see stroke victims who've lost their ability to communicate. They use them a lot for kids with autism, but there's all kinds of different conditions that can lead to someone being unable to speak or having a voice injury. So we do voice amplification. There are a lot of voice amplifiers out there. We've tried some of the ones from Amazon and haven't been truly impressed, but this guy here is a Swedish product from a company called Abilia. And one of the things that we like about it is that they have some microphone options that you don't typically see in the cheaper ones, like a transdermal throat mic that will rest against the throat. And if someone has a very soft voice, it's a much better way of picking up their speech. There's also a lapel mic for it. These are all wired, and the main problem with voice amplifiers is if you get your microphone and the speaker too close to each other, they're going to make a loud squealy noise. There's no getting around that, but it's still a problem that annoys people. So there's a lot of simple speech generating device. These tend to get used more for the kids when they're trying to teach speech skills. But there's some products that just have a single recording. You press the button, you get the recording back. There's some that have multiple levels of recording, so you can have 3 or 4 messages on a device that has just a single button. Or you can start getting additional buttons in there, additional levels in there. So I think that that 4-button device up there can actually do, I think, 16 different messages. And then you just keep adding buttons, keep adding symbols. The more buttons, the more symbols, the more messages that you can speak out. The more levels a device supports, the more layered it can be, until you get into the advanced communication aids. And the advanced communication aids, they start to do things like tie into cell phones, allow you to use them as a keyboard for a computer, have switch accessibility features built right into them. Some of them have eye gaze systems built right into them. We're seeing a lot of people using apps on iPads for communication aids, and if you're a direct selection person where you're able to hit keys on a screen, that works really well. But if you have more involved physical issues, you need to get into things like the switch access, the eye gaze, those sorts of things. There are specialized devices that incorporate all of that into them. And then some of the manufacturers of communication aids also have some very specific language models that they use. For example, there's a company called Prentke Romich Company who has a system called, originally it was called MinSpeak. I can't remember what they're calling it now. But every symbol that they use has multiple purposes, and when it's used in different combinations, it means different things. It's an incredibly powerful communication system that when somebody masters it, they're able to carry on a conversation in real time just by selecting buttons, either by eye gaze or by direct selection. And it's remarkable how quickly they can communicate when they've mastered a system like that. We've also now got something called voice banking. Some people who have deteriorating conditions where they're losing their ability to communicate over time, they want to be able to continue to communicate in their own voice. So now what you can do is you can go onto a website and you can record a bunch of stuff or upload recordings that have been done previously, and it will build a voice model that's going to sound like you. And then you can load that onto a communication aid, and you can continue to sound like yourself when you're speaking through the communication aid. So that's kind of cool. Deaf and hard of hearing products. This is really the bailiwick of your audiologist typically, but there are people still who are very, very resistant about getting a hearing aid for whatever reason, or they're like my mother, who insists that there's nothing wrong with her hearing. Everybody around her just mumbles. So we have some products for amplification for voice. So these are typically something that goes onto a headset. It's just going to amplify whatever's around you. Typically, the handheld units have a directional microphone, so you can point it at whoever's speaking and filter out some of the room noise around you. We also have systems that amplify the television, the sound on the television, so that somebody can listen to the television at whatever volume they need to hear it without rattling the teeth of their neighbors next door. And then we have some systems that are transmitter receiver types of systems. So you could have somebody wearing a transmitter. You'd be sitting at the back of the room with a receiver and hear what they're saying more clearly. The other part we do are alerting systems for the deaf. So these are based on a transmitter receiver type of system. So that top row there is all of our different receivers. So we have a portable flash receiver, we've got a stationary flash receiver, we've got an alarm clock receiver, we've got a pager receiver that you can wear on a belt, we've got a wristwatch receiver, but all of these will either flash or vibrate or do a combination of those, sometimes with an audible message as well. And then the transmitters, we have different transmitters for different purposes. So we've got a door transmitter. You just basically stick it up beside a doorbell, and when the doorbell goes off, it lets you know. There's a telephone transmitter that you plug into your telephone line, and it will send you an alert when the phone's ringing. There's a mobile phone transceiver, so you can have an app, and it can alert you on an app as well. There's a baby monitor that monitors for sound. So you can put it next to the crib, and if the baby makes a sound, you get an alert about it. That can also be used for other sounds as well. It doesn't have to be a baby per se. We've got a cell phone sensor that you can basically leave on the screen of a cell phone. And if a message comes in, your cell phone typically lights up the screen, and that will send you an alert. We've got a push button one for like a doorbell. We've got mats that pressure mats, so you could put it beside somebody's bed. If they got out of bed, it would give you an alert. Smoke detector, carbon monoxide detectors, and then door and window detectors. So if a door or window opens, it'll send you an alert. And each of these alerts, there's 4 different lights on each of the receivers, and it'll tell you what type of alert you're getting when you do get an alert, so you know where it's coming from. So I started to get into elder care stuff because everybody around me seems to be getting older. I don't know what it is with that, but there's about 750,000 people in Canada living with dementia currently, and that's expected to go up to about 1 million by 2030. One of the first things I brought in was a clock, that guy on the top left there, for my mother-in-law. She was experiencing dementia and she was missing appointments, and we wanted a way to make sure that she was getting out to the appointments that she needed to go to. So we got her one of those. It has a companion app. You can put in your appointments and stuff through the companion app. They just show up on the screen of the device. When an alarm goes off, you can have it show a picture. You can have it play a message, a voice recording if you want. It can read out text about the thing. And there's an audible alarm that goes off, and they have to touch the screen to turn the alarm off. We also have systems that now have video calling built into them, so you can use it as a video phone as well, which can be really handy. And some of them are just dead simple. Some of them are simply there to say what time it is, what day it is, just to kind of, let somebody know, where they're at in the day, so they're not, phoning you at 3 a.m. And then there's larger versions of those as well that you can mount on walls in group homes and places like that. And they work pretty much the same way with the online scheduling. Safety lighting, it's one of the number one causes of falls in the home is moving around in the dark. And for that guy on the right, $30, slap it onto the foot of a bed. As soon as it sees movement, it detects movement out to 14 feet. It'll come on, illuminate the ground. And, something as simple as that can really, stop a tragedy. We also have the Lotus ring that's out on the table as well. That's a little simple system. You have these magnetic modules that you just pop onto a light switch. They attach to the two screws on the light switch, and you control them with the ring. The ring's got a little button on the side of it. It's infrared. You just point, shoot, light comes on. They also have modules for plugins for those as well, so you can control other types of things, and you can also turn your TV off and on with those guys. So, but safety lighting, very, very important for the elderly. You might have seen the dog out on the table there. That is a robotic companion pet for people with dementia. Typically they don't let you have pets in the care homes. So we've got dogs, we've got cats, we've got birds, and they move around, they bark or purr or tweet, and they can be cute. We've got some stuff for adapted eating. This is something that I actually want to expand out on because, I'd like to get into those. They've got some of the anti-tremor cutlery that I'd like to get involved in. But these are just dead simple adaptations. They've just got bigger lips on them so that they're easier to hold. Nothing fancy there. The teapot with two handles just makes it easier for somebody to pour if they're a little weaker. And then we've got some really nice bibs and stuff. My mom for years has been walking around with two alligator clips on a chain and taking her napkin and putting it in front of her. So I got her those for Christmas and haven't seen her use them yet. But those alligator clips are still in use. Damn it. One of the most recent things that we've brought in is a product called Cooktop Sensor. This is something that I got asked about probably once a year, every year. It's like, my parents are starting to experience dementia. We're worried about them cooking independently and leaving something on the stove. What do we do? And until this year, I didn't have an answer for that. Now I do. That Cooktop Sensor has a thermal imaging camera down on the bottom of it, and it looks down at the stove and it's constantly monitoring the temperature there. And if it sees anything getting close to starting a fire, it'll start sending alerts. And if it continues, it'll cut off the power to the stove. If you want to turn the power back on to the stove, you got to hit the big square button in the middle of it. But more than that, it has an app, and the app can be used a couple of ways. If you're taking care of somebody and you want alerts, you can have this signal the app, let you know, hey, something's gone off here. But if the person who operates the cooktop has a phone, you can also geofence with it. So if they leave the house, it shuts the stove off. So very handy, very nice little piece of safety gear. And I think that's it. That's my pitch. So we do have a showroom at on 8th Avenue, 8th and Willow in Vancouver. Please feel free to drop by. We're open 9 to 4 Monday through Friday, and we can do weekends by appointment if necessary. Would love to see you.